for the small introduction about me. Most respected head of the department, Dr. Jayanti, and all the faculty members of the Department of Nanoscience and Technology, Dr. Marimuthu, Dr. Sarmila, Dr. Kannan, Dr. Raja, and my dear student, Dr. Abhinaya, and my dear young and energetic students, a very good morning to all of you. Uh, Today, after this IOS examination, there is a protocol to give a lecture, but even I try to, because this time is too short now. They are telling me to give half an hour lecture. I try my level best to introduce yourself to the latest material, the nanomaterial. Uh, for that, I just wanted to explain the different types of you all know that the different types of nanomaterials. Okay, what are the different? You are all studying the MSc Nanoscience and Technology in the agricultural background. We are studying in the general background. That is the difference. Okay, but the nano means everything is nano. Okay, so nano, that everyone knows that they immediately know what is nano, then 10 power minus 9. Okay, not minus 9. That is 10 power minus 9 meter. That is the most important thing. If I ask this particular question, every students, they used to tell that they immediately pronounce 10 power minus 9, but they miss the meter. That is the most important thing. Okay, we are all going in the nano world. Okay, in the agricultural also, everything is available. Today morning, she made a presentation. All the pesticides are available, already available, that are in the micrometer range. In order to improve the efficiency, they are going for the nano formulation. How they are improving based on the nano formulation? That is an important thing. That is a first and basic and foremost one is a surface to volume ratio. Because of the surface to increasing the surface area, they are able to improve the efficiency. Okay, in that also, based on the application, you have to design your nanoparticle. That is the most important thing, because the nanoparticle is available in 4 different dimensions: 3 dimension, 2 dimension, 1 dimension, and 0 dimension. There are 4 different dimensions. You have to design your nanoparticle for your own application. For example, the 0 dimension, that is actually the semiconducting nanoparticle. What is the use of that 0 dimensional particle? Because there is a semiconductor that can emit different colors based on their band gap. In that way, you can analyze the DNA sequence. Okay. In the DNA, there is a adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine. How sequentially these are arranged? That can be analyzed based on the quantum dots. In that way, you need a 0 dimensional material. What is a 1 dimensional material? In terms of some electrical application, that give much improved efficiency. In that way, you can prepare the 1 dimensional nanoparticle that can utilize for that application. Like that, the 2 dimension, that needs some kind of application. Okay, like that, the 3 dimension. In that way, if you take any material by suitably modifying the preparatory conditions, you can design your nanoparticle. That is what it is called, it as a designer nanoparticle. Okay, for example, zinc oxide is a nanoparticle. You just prepare the zinc oxide in terms of 3, 2, 1, and 0 dimension. Like that, nowadays the carbon. Carbon is a easily available material that have a different allotropes. What are the allotropes of carbon? Graphite, diamond, again a sheet of carbon, that is called it as a graphene. If you fold the graphene to make a fullerene or buckyball or carbon nanotubes, there are single wall carbon nanotube, multi wall carbon nanotube. Like that, there are so many allotropes of carbon. Among these, you can classify 3, 2, 1, and 0 dimension. What is a 3 dimension in carbon based material? Graphite. Okay, graphite is a 3 dimensional material. What is a 2 dimension? If we just to put a cello tap on the graphite and remove the cello tap, you will get one layer. That is what graphene. That is a 2 dimensional material. What is 1 dimension? If you make or fold that graphene sheet in a smaller dimension, smaller diameter, then you can form a carbon nanotube. That is a one-dimensional material. What is zero dimension? From that, if you make a carbon dot, that is a zero dimensional material. Or nano diamond, that is also zero dimension. In that way, you can make 3, 2, 1 and zero dimensional material. This is what designer nanoparticle. The agriculture, you just think of your field. If you want to make some application for the agriculture, you can think which shape will be suitable for that application. Okay. Based on that, you prepare, set the condition and prepare the nanomaterial. In that way, you can improve the efficiency of the material. The research is for only two aspects: improve the efficiency and by reducing the cost. Okay. Otherwise, cost wise, it is expensive. Also, it is not useful. Okay. Thereby, two conditions. Whenever you do perform the research, reduce the cost by improving the efficiency. Okay, like that, the modern, there are some modern material. I'm going to concentrate in this lecture about 2D materials, mostly 2D material that can be applicable for so many energy and sensing applications. Okay, energy and sensing. Our group work is actually twofold. One is actually for energy applications. There we are mostly working on splitting the water into hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, you know the importance of both. Okay, hydrogen is a precursor. In that way, there is no environmental impact problem. Okay, by split again, precursor is a water, and when split the water into hydrogen and oxygen, then you can use hydrogen as a fuel and oxygen for useful purposes. And finally, the end product also become the water. This is what one of our work, and other work is actually based on this 2D material. We are working on sensors. Okay, that is mostly not wastewater, madam. Pure water, pure water. That is the input is a water, output also pure water. In that way, we don't have any issue. And even in that particular field, some of the people are using the seawater too, by splitting the seawater to get the hydrogen and oxygen. There, that kind of work also doing. And again, another important part is actually to make the sensor. Okay, the sensor, there are few important properties. One is actually the selectivity, another one is a sensitivity, and important one is a response, how quickly it responds, that is a response time. These are the three important parameters for sensors. There also the nanomaterial play a vital role, because this nanomaterial, they may be, some of the nanomaterial may be 10 nanometer in size, some of them may be 25 nanometer, and some of them may be 50 nanometer. This is a kind of one. Okay, based on the size, there may be some selectivity. Another impact is actually based on different material. Okay, one particular zinc oxide that can detect one kind of gas or one kind of antigen or antibody. Okay, like that you can decide. There's a material based sensor as well as a size based sensor. In that way you can make a selectivity. Again, in order to reduce the size, again because of the surface area and all the catalytic, based on the catalytic activity, you are improving the sensitivity. Okay, again the response time too, because some of the material that may attract some foreign body, antigen or something, and it may not able to release. For that you have to heat up. In that way it can be removed from the original sensor. Then only it can be reutilized. Some nanoparticle, if you are using the nanoparticle, that can be performed in the room temperature itself. Okay, like that you also may need some of the sensor. In the agriculture field also they are using so many sensors. Okay, in that way this kind of material may help you to improve the efficiency in your devices. Okay, move பண்றது நீங்க தான் move பண்ணணும். Okay, okay. These are actually some of the 2D materials. You can see some of the 2D materials that have a peculiar properties. There is a high surface area. This is what you require for especially the agricultural applications. Okay, the morning, the thesis also defended based on this one only. Okay, so you have to make a high surface area material when you are reducing the size. And another one is actually we are interested in high conductivity because we are using this material for energy application. There, it can be utilized for batteries, supercapacitors, and splitting the water into hydrogen and oxygen like that. And again, another important thing is you can tune. By making the designer nanoparticle, you can tune the applications too. Okay, that is what the 2D material is very important. Again, in the right side, you can see those are actually the different applications. Okay, there are so many applications this material can be used. Next slide. Again, this here, in order to tune the properties, okay, I already mentioned you can tune the properties. In order to tune the properties, you can do all the things. Okay, the first one is the crystal structure. Every material have their own crystal structure. Okay, you might have studied during your graduation or somewhere in your school level. This crystal structure play a vital role. The crystals that can be classified into normal crystals, amorphous, again the disordered structure that also have a disordered structures. Okay, if it is a perfect crystal or nanocrystal also some kind of disordered there. Okay, based on the crystal structure also their efficiency decided. And again, the next one is a electronic structure. When you are tuning the material from bulk to nano, sometimes the electronic structure changes. That influences the application. And again, the carrier mobility in terms of electrical, the number of electrons that can be, because in that I have classified the material into 4 different types. In the 3-dimensional material, if you are preparing the 3-dimensional material, the electron can move all the 3 directions, X direction, Y direction, and Z direction. In that way, the movement is not restricted. That is what in nano, that is called it as a confinement effect. Okay, in 3 dimension, there is no confinement. Confinement means restriction. The electron movement is not at all restricted. Okay, 2 dimension. What is 2 dimension? If you just take a paper, okay, A4 size paper, that is a length, again the width. Compared to this length and width, the thickness is negligible. That is what it is called it as a 2-dimensional material. If there is an electron in that, that can move longitudinal and again this way. Okay, lengthwise, again the widthwise, but it cannot move up and down. Okay, this is what 2 dimension. Okay, again 1 dimension, that is a nano rod. There, if there is an electron, that can move only one direction. It cannot move other 2 directions. Okay, like that. Again in the 0 dimension, can you imagine what is 0 dimension? That is completely, the electron movement is completely confined. Can you imagine what is 0 dimension? This is a very, very basic understanding in terms of nanomaterials. What is 0 dimension? It's very simple. Okay, this is a 3-dimensional room. Okay, I can go this way, I can go this way, I can able to jump. Okay, how my complete movement is restricted and when top floor may come down up to my head. Okay, again, this wall may move up to 1 or 2 feet away from this wall. Again, we have to move that wall up to 1 or 2 feet away from this wall. In that way, I can stand only in that particular corner. This is what complete restriction. Okay, the electron movement is completely restricted. That is what 0 dimension. Okay, example is a quantum dot. That's what I explained. This particular quantum dot, the preparation of quantum dot got a Nobel Prize last year. Okay, not this year, last year, the quantum dot got a Nobel, preparation of quantum dot got a Nobel Prize. Are you able to prepare a quantum dot? That can be useful for so many purposes in terms of biological aspect. Okay, that is very simple. You can prepare the quantum dot. That size of the quantum dot should be, or size of the material should be less than 10 or 5 nanometer. 5 nanometer, mostly 5 nanometer. Okay, that is little tricky, but you can do. Okay, 5 nanometer preparation is very, very difficult. Again, the uniform size. Okay, what you have to concentrate is actually in terms of biological aspect, you need to prepare a uniform size particle. The distribution should be uniform. Then only it can be useful for application aspect. If the distribution is not uniform, then it may not be applicable. Okay. So you please concentrate on the uniform size with less dimension. That is the most important thing. In that way, it will be applicable for any applications. Okay. If you further wanted, this is actually again the empirical definition about quantum dot. If you want to understand in depth, there is a different mechanism exists. I think I don't have to explain that right now. Okay. Now, this is what this one. Now you can see the right side. What are the two-dimensional materials available? Okay. For example, hexagonal boron nitride, again metal organic framework, again covalently organic framework, maxines, again layer double hydroxides, oxides, metals like that. There are so many materials are available. Phosphates and all available in terms of two-dimensional. Because the two-dimensional materials have a improved surface area and large number of active sites. These active sites only interact with any other thing to improve the efficiency. In this way, you can tune the number of active sites in the two-dimensional materials. Next slide. Okay, these are again some more advantages of the two-dimensional materials. Okay, that's you can see the right side that I have already mentioned. Again, these are the things are again excellent durability too. Okay, for example, in order to use some pesticides for plant also, that has to stand sustainably release that in the plant. Okay, if you, for example, if you are spraying some pesticides in the plant, immediately there is a rain, then it will maybe washed out. Okay, as soon as the first one is to interact with that particular plant. When you are spraying, immediately it has to interact with the plant, touch with the plant. That's the first thing. And again, that also released in a sustained manner, not immediately. If it immediately happens, sometimes the plant may also die. If you take all the drug together, plant also may die. In that way, there should be a sustained release. In that way, the contact between these two, how it can be contacted, it's a covalent bond or any other bond, any other hydrogen bond happens. This kind of studies also you have to. For that, these 2D materials have a tunability. Whatever the properties you want, you can prepare in such a way. That is what this 2D material is very important. Okay, next. Okay, these are actually the number of work going on worldwide. This was taken in 2021. This statistics. Now we are in 2024. This is much improved. 2021, this kind of 2D materials are very less. Usage of 2D materials are very less. Even then, you can see there are very large. 2022, at that time it started. Every 1 hour, 1 hour, I think 1 hour only. It's one paper per hour. Okay, now it is more. Okay, not one paper, it's more than 3 or 4 papers in 2024. In that way, this 2D material play a vital role in the material science aspect. Okay, next slide. Okay, these are actually some of the 2D materials. Based on the periodic table, these many 2D materials you can able to prepare again based on the application. If you want to use it, for example, in physics, we talk about several properties. Strength, there is a mechanical property, electrical property, magnetic, like the optical, like that there are so many properties. In order to tune the property, we have to use some of the material because nowadays many researchers, not agriculture, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the general material scientist. What the research scholar they used to do is they prepare some material. Okay, immediately what they used to do is they prepare for 5 grams. Then they divide it into 0.5 grams pack and 10 grams. They make 10 packet and each one packet will go to one lab. This is what they are doing the characterization. Okay, this is not the way of doing the characterization. Okay, for example, if you are preparing some material and you have certain application that can be tuned based on the structure, then first you have to do the structural property. Again, that application working based on the principle of optical property, then you have to perform in-depth optical property. Based on that optical property only you are going to utilize the material. For that you have to identify. The researchers always should have a reverse thinking. That is not happening in many of the places. What is mean by reverse thinking? What is mean by reverse thinking? How many of you are not able to understand English? Tamil. Everybody can understand Tamil. Okay. Reverse thinking is most important. For example, இன்னைக்கு மார்னிங் பிரசன்ட் பண்ணாங்க. அவங்களோட மெயின் எய்ம் என்னது? மெயின் எய்ம் என்னது? Okay. They have to solve some problem that is even, for example, in the coffee plant, they wanted to kill some insects. Okay, that's all. This is what the concept. Okay, for that, first, this is a problem. This is a research problem, not a material. Okay, this is a research problem. For that, what are the existing technologies? Okay, what are the existing technology available? What are the problem exist in that particular technology? This is what we have to identify first. That is what it is called it as a research gap. Okay, you wanted to fill that particular research gap. How? That is what you are referring the literature. Okay, what are the things already happening? Again, what solution you can able to give? For that, என்ன ப்ராப்ளம் என்னென்ன ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்கும்? ஒன்று வந்து எஃபிகசி ஆஃப் த மெட்டீரியல், அது இருக்கலாம். இல்லாட்டு வந்து சைஸ். இப்போ சைஸ் ஒன்று நம்ம நேனோவில் போகிறதுனால சைஸை பற்றி பேசலாம். ஆல்ரெடி மைக்ரான் சைஸில் பண்ணியிருப்பாங்க. அதே நேனோ மைக்ரோ எமல்ஷன் பண்ணியிருப்பாங்க. இப்போ நேனோ எமல்ஷன் பண்ணலாம். அப்போ நேனோ எமல்ஷன் பண்ணுறதுக்கு என்னென்ன தேவை, இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு கைண்ட் ஆஃப் ஆக்டிவிட்டி பண்ணலாம். அதே போல் ஆல்ரெடி எக்ஸிஸ்டிங் டெக்னாலஜியில் ஒரு மெட்டீரியல் யூஸ் பண்ணியிருப்பாங்க. தட் மைட் பி வெரி காஸ்ட்லி. Okay, you wanted to reduce the cost. For that you are using the some material. In that way, அதோட எஃபிஷியன்சி 100% இது 80% இருந்தாலும் அக்செப்டபிள். ஏன்னா அந்த பர்டிகுலர் பெஸ்டிசைடோட காஸ்ட் 1000 rupees வச்சுடுங்க, இதை நீங்க 100 rupees கொடுக்கலாம். அப்போ வந்து இன்ஸ்டெட் ஆஃப் 1 liter they can buy 10 liters. ஓகே, இதுதான் ரிசர்ச். இன் that way you should have a reverse thinking. ஓகே, அப்ஜெக்டிவ் எழுதுன. இப்போ ஒரு ரிசர்ச் ப்ராப்ளம்த்துக்கு அப்ஜெக்டிவ் எழுதுங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னா எல்லாரும் என்ன எழுதுவாங்க? ஐ வாண்டட் டு ப்ரிப்பேர் திஸ் சாம்பிள், ஐ வாண்டட் டு கேரக்டரைஸ் திஸ் சாம்பிள். ஓகே, I wanted to apply this material for this. This is not the way. You should have a application first. I wanted to perform, I wanted to resolve this problem. This is a broad objective of your work. For that, what is the methodology you wanted to execute? What is the mechanism? Okay, first mechanism, you wanted to improve the efficiency in which way? For that, which material you are preparing and how the material can be characterized. This is what you have to frame the objective. Okay, but most of the people, when they are start writing the proposal, it in the opposite way. Material characterization application, but it should be in the opposite way. Then only the funding agency, if you are applying some project for the funding agency, they check, the referee check, oh, they have a clear vision. In that way only this research problem is planned. Okay, then definitely your proposal will not get rejected. இப்போ என்னன்னா நிறைய பேர் என்ன ரெஃபரி இதுல பண்றாங்கன்னா அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங்கே இல்லாம கூகுள்ல இருந்து டவுன்லோட் பண்ணி அப்படியே தள்ளிடுறாங்க. இதுதான் மேஜர் ப்ராப்ளம். அதை வந்து ரிசால்வ் இப்படி எழுதினீங்க அப்படின்னாலே they can understand that you have written it in your own, because nowadays there are so many artificial intelligence tools. Okay, from that also the people are copying so many things. Okay, இதெல்லாம் விட்டுட்டு நீங்க இந்த மாதிரி எழுதுனீங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னா டெஃபினட்டா இப்போ எல்லாம் பேப்பர் சப்மிட் பண்ண, ரிசர்ச் பேப்பர் சப்மிட் பண்ணாலே ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பேஜ்லயே அது கேக்குது whether you have prepared the manuscript based on the AI tools, chat GPT, இந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது யூஸ் பண்ணீங்களா அப்படின்னு அதுவே கேக்குது. கேட்டுட்டு தான் கொஞ்ச நாளைக்கு முன்ன என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னா சிமிலாரிட்டி செக் பண்ணுவாங்க. இப்போ என்ன செக் பண்றாங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னா whether it can be written based on the AI tools அப்படிங்கறத செக் பண்றாங்க. In that way you should be very careful. Okay, so even though artificial tool exists, your brain, that is most important. How you are utilizing your brain, in that way that is actually the valuable research. Okay, now you can see here there are so many materials, more than 118 elements in the periodic table. Now, some of the material can be useful to prepare the 2D material. The first one you can see the 2D metal composite oxides. For that, all these material generally we are using copper oxide, zinc oxide. Easily, two-dimensional layered structure you can prepare. அதுதான் ஆல்ரெடி சொன்னேன் சிங்க் ஆக்சைடு கார்பன்ல இருந்தே ஆல் த 4 dimension you can prepare like that. Zinc oxide also you can prepare quantum dots to 3D nanoparticle. Okay, the only thing you have to play with the preparation parameters. Like next type of material is actually 2D transition metal dichalcogenates, that is semiconducting dichalcogenates. These are the material mostly the material science people nowadays using molybdenum sulfide, molybdenum selenide, again molybdenum telluride. These kind of things they are using. And again, the next kind of material you can see those are actually perovskite type oxides. And again, here also you can see metallic dichalcogenides, again Janus semiconductors, again metal-free 2D nano seeds. That is what I mentioned, the carbon-based materials. Okay, again the maxines. There is a new kind of material that also can be applicable for some material. For our application, it's not much useful because when you are preparing the supercapacitors, okay, here the stability is the problem. For that, we have to avoid that material. Like that, whatever the material that purely useful for your case, that you can fix it. Okay, because the batteries, the maxines are good. The supercapacitor, it may not be good. Okay, there are two different advantages between batteries and supercapacitors. Okay, you all know that nowadays the battery vehicle, there are so many battery vehicles. What are the disadvantages? Any idea? Charging is a problem. Or if you want to go to Chennai from Coimbatore, intermediately you have to stop one place. There you have to charge the vehicle for more than 2 hours or 3 hours. In that way, your traveling time exceeds. Okay, 8 மணி நேரத்துல போகணும்னு நினைச்சிருப்பீங்க. Finally, you can reach only 11 hours or 12 hours. This is the problem. In order to avoid that, there is another technology, that is a supercapacitor. The advantage of supercapacitor is it can charge very fast, but again there is a disadvantage. It can discharge also very fast. But battery, it can charge slowly but discharge also slowly. We need a very slow discharge. That is the most important thing. Sir? ஆமா, ஏன்னா இப்போ நம்ம மொபைல் ஃபோன் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வாங்கும்போது ஒரு வாரத்துக்கு கூட நிற்கும். அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு 6 months போச்சுல 2 நாளைக்கு ஒருக்கா சார்ஜ் பண்ணணும். அடுத்த 6 monthsல எகெயின் 1 day ஆகும், half a day ஆகும். திருப்பி சார்ஜர்ல குத்தி வச்சுட்டே பேச வேண்டியது கூட வரும். திஸ் இஸ் வாட் த டிகிரடேஷன். ஓகே, அதே போலதான் அங்கேயும் சூப்பர் கெப்பாசிட்டர்ல என்ன அட்வான்டேஜ்னா தட் வில் சார்ஜ் வெரி ஃபாஸ்ட். வித்தின் 5 minutes or 1 minute it can charge, but discharge also happen in the same time. But only one advantage, you can charge the supercapacitor. From that, you can charge the battery. In that way, you can make a hybrid things. Okay, battery and supercapacitor, you can make it as a single unit. You can charge the supercapacitor, that will be go to the battery. In that way, you can run the charging will be done very fast. This is what you have to think. The research you have to think in that way. Definitely, you can improve the efficiency. Okay, like this, all these kind of materials have their own application in all the field, not only one field. We are utilizing this material for the energy as energy material, as well as the sensor, as well as in sensors, it can be used as a catalyst. Okay, next slide. Okay, these are actually the strategies to improving the efficiency. Okay, there are so many techniques. Okay, increasing the edges. Carbon nanotube, it is a perfect carbon nanotube. The active sites will be minimum. In order to break the sides of the carbon things, then number of active sites will be improved. That is what the first one, increasing the edges, number of edges. Okay, in that way you can interact with the other material much faster. Again, extending the strain. You can induce the strain, creating defects also another thing. Okay, the porous structure. Okay, for example, there is a sponge. ஓகே கிச்சன்ல ஒரு காட்டன் துணி வச்சு தொடச்சா என்ன ஆகும்? தண்ணி இருக்கு நிறைய, இந்த காலிலே தண்ணி கவுந்துருச்சு. ஓகே, காட்டன் கிளாத்தை வச்சு, காட்டன் கிளாத் இல்ல டெரி காட்டன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க, அதை பாலிமரை ஏதோ பேஸ்ட் பண்ணி தொடச்சா என்ன ஆகும்? வாட்டர் போகுமா போகாதா? போகாது. அதே இது ஒரு ஸ்பாஞ்ச். ஓகே, ஒரு ஸ்பாஞ்சை ப்ரெஸ் பண்ணிட்டு அப்படியே விட்டீங்கன்னா என்ன ஆகும்? வாட் வாட் இஸ் த மெக்கானிசம்? porous structure. Okay, the sponge have a lot of pores. Okay, அதே போல தான் the defects. When you are creating the defects in the materials, that can be applicable for so many applications. And again, the exerting strain induce பண்ணி you can make different properties. Okay, the graphene, carbon nanotube. I have explained about the carbon nanotube. அதே இந்த ஒரு சின்ன எக்ஸாம்பிள், A4 சைஸ்ல ஒரு பேப்பர் எடுத்துடுங்க. You consider that as a graphene sheet. ஓகே, அதுல லென்த் இருக்கு, எகைன் பிரெட் இருக்கு. லென்த் வைஸ் ஒர்க்கா ஃபோல்ட் பண்ணுங்க, வித் வைஸ் ஒர்க்கா ஃபோல்ட் பண்ணுங்க, எகைன் டயகனல் வைஸ் ஒர்க்கா ஃபோல்ட் பண்ணுங்க. யூ வில் கெட் 3 different structure. Carbon always stay with a 6 atoms that is arranged in a hexagonal pattern. ஓகே, 3 டைரக்ஷன்ல போல்ட் பண்ணும் போதும் ஏதாவது டிஃபரன்ஸ் வருமா வராது? யூ ஃபீல் எனி டிஃபரன்ஸ்? 3 different length wise fold பண்றோம், width wise fold பண்றோம், diagonal wise fold பண்றோம். அப்ப ஏதாவது changes நடக்குமா? என்ன change நடக்கும்? I already mentioned the hexagonal structure. Because when you are folding, you are inducing the strain. Paper strain ஆகுது இல்ல, induce பண்ணும்போது, bold பண்ணும்போது paper strain ஆகுது. What does it mean? அந்த bond between the carbon atom and the distance change ஆகுது. ஓகே, 2 கார்பன் ஆட்டத்துக்கு இடையில உள்ள டிஸ்டன்ஸ் சேஞ்ச் ஆகுது. பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் தட் ஸ்ட்ரெயின் the electrical properties induced. ஓகே, லென்த் வைஸ் போல்ட் பண்றது வந்து கண்டக்டரா இருக்குது, வித் வைஸ் போல்ட் பண்ணும்போது செமி கண்டக்டரா இருக்குது, டயகனல் வைஸ் பண்ணும்போது செமி மெட்டலா இருக்கு. ஓகே, this is what you can induce the strain. In order to make the strain, you can change the material property like that. Again, there are so many things here. Okay, you can tune, dope பண்ணலாம், semiconductor. When you are making having the semiconductor, you dope. From that, you can change the band cap. When you are changing the band cap, you can tune the optical property. Because the optical property, the relation between the optical property and the band cap is lambda equal to hc by eg. Eg is the band cap. Okay, when you are reducing the size, the band cap increases. Okay, or doping the material either increase or decrease based on the doping element. Okay, based on the band cap, the wavelength changes. If the band cap increases, the wavelength decreases. If the band cap decreases, the wavelength increases. This is what you can tune the optical property. Okay, for that also this kind of material, it is very easy to tune the optical property of the material. And again, doping non-metal atom, doping metal atom, again template routes also. You can prepare the material based on the template, especially in the electrochemistry. That is very easy because the template, why I am again particularly talking about template, I already mentioned the designer nanoparticle. Okay, if you want some nanoparticle with some specific morphology, you have to go with the template based technology. Okay, like that there are so many layer double hydroxide, like that so many things are there. You can prepare based on whatever you want. Next, this is what how one can do the edge engineering. Okay, எவ்வளவு நேரம் போல சார் டைம்? சார் டைம் 1:15. என்ன எவ்வளவு நேரம்? Okay. Maybe in that way I can little skip on few slides. Okay, next slide. This is edge engineering, what I have mentioned in the previous one. How edge engineering is happening. Now this is a defect engineering. How the defect will be created, and from that how the material, the properties, functional properties of the material will be strengthened. Okay, for example, when you are performing your research, you don't have to do all the characterization. In that way, I congratulate the candidate. She has actually in the morning, she has not performed so many characterization. Okay, whatever the characterization she required for but her applications is did it. But some other researchers, They do all the characterization. That is actually wastage of instrument time. Okay. In that way, whatever the functional properties you require, you do the characterization only for that functional property. In that way, effectively, you can utilize the machine and again deep analysis of the sample properties. Okay, that is what my advice. That is what here the defect. The defect should be studied. Defect property should be studied with one specific characterization. Again, the pore size that can be studied with sub characterization. Like that, you have to find it out. For that, you need to have a thinking. Okay, many of the researchers nowadays they never utilize their brain compared to our brains. Your brains are very sharp. You are young and energetic, and again, you have a lot of opportunities too. Okay, for example, இப்ப எல்லாம் முன்னெல்லாம் நாங்க படிக்கும்போது கூகுள்ங்கிறத ஒண்ணு பார்த்ததே கிடையாது. Okay, whenever you have some doubt, we have to go and refer some books. From that only we will get some idea. Nowadays in the Google, if you can go such just to open and type one word, all the text related to that particular topic is displayed. Okay, அதுலயும் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ண முடியலன்னா என்ன இருக்கு அடுத்து? Just go to the image, from that you can easily visualize the things. அதுலயும் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ண முடியலன்னா இன்னொரு ஆப்ஷன் இருக்கு. There is a movie. அது வந்து கம்ப்ளீட் பிக்சரையும் உங்க பிரெயினுக்குள்ள கொண்டு போயிருது. Okay, in that way you can strengthen your understanding by thinking that particular topic. Okay, அப்படி திங்க் பண்ணும்போது நிறைய நியூ ஐடியா, lot of new ideas will come to in your mind. From that you can do the research in a better way. Okay, this is again the defect in the next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, the next important one is carbon based material. You know, I have already mentioned about this one. I don't have to spend much time on that. This particular carbon nanotube that have a better mechanical properties. That is the first one thing. Okay, mechanical property means hardness. Okay, for example, in the windows we are using the steel. Why we are using the steel? Because we are not able to break. கை வச்சு break பண்ண முடியுமா? முடியாது. We need some tool to break. Okay, but compared to this one, this kind of carbon have a very less weight. Okay, even carbon nanotube கண்ணுக்கே தெரியாது. Carbon nanotube கண்ணுக்கே தெரியாது. If you make that particular tube here in the window, that is actually more than 56 times stronger than this one. Okay, அப்போ building ஓட weight you can reduce. Okay, this is what this kind of material. Again, there are so many other things. Cement they are using this particular carbon nowadays. Concrete they are using this nanocarbon. In that way they are improving the strength. Okay, like that the allotropes, these carbon based allotropes have a different properties. I already mentioned that carbon dot that actually behave like a quantum dot, because carbon dot also semiconductor that can be useful for so many biological applications, because it's a semiconductor that have if it is a semiconductor that has a fluorescent effect. In that way that can be used as a carrier for making some truck from one place to other place. Okay, that is what this carbon dot. Again, the carbon nanotube that also can used as a carrier, because it is a tube. You can fill the truck in the tube and then you can take it to the different part of human for treating some diseases. Okay, this is what the carbon based material there. 3, 2, 1 and 0 dimensional materials are available. By making the changing the preparatory condition, you can prepare the all the 4 dimensional material. Next slide. This is what that material you can visualize now. That's all the things I have already explained. Next one, graphene. Next one, again these are the properties of the graphene which I have already explained. These are the properties of the graphene. Next one, again, because it is carbon, that is environmental friendly too, because some of these chalcogenides that have their own disadvantage, because we are using selenides that have their own drawback also. But here we are using the carbon. This carbon doesn't have any environmental issues. But if it is a gas, carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, again there is a problem. For that also we have a mechanism. What this how this can be reduced. Okay. Again, the next important one is a graphitic carbon nitrate. This is a kind of two-dimensional material nowadays. They are preparing the instead of graphene or any reduced graphene oxide or like that. They are using the graphitic carbon nitrate. This is also kind of 2D material that can be useful for several applications. Okay, that's a general formula. Everything is here. Next slide. This can be prepared by different method. Only by heating this particular material, different temperature, you can attain the graphitic carbon nitrate. Next slide. Here you can, these are actually the properties of the graphitic carbon, almost similar. Almost like the graphene. These properties also almost similar, but in some places, this is better than the previous. That's it. Next slide. These are again some more properties of the graphitic carbon nitrate. Next one. This is actually the transition metal dichalcogenates. This is what I mentioned. This the formula here is actually the one metal that may be divalent or trivalent with the oxygen. So oxygen or sulfur or selenite. This is what this one. Okay. This is the metal chalcogenates, molybdenum sulfate. This M means transition metal, X means chalcogenates, sulfur or selenites. Next slide. This is again some of the this structure of that particular chalcogenates. This is a layered structure. They layered structure that have a span structure. This is a monolayer structure. If this band structure is a monolayer, this will be like that. If it is a quad layer, this will be like that. Next slide. Okay, this is the layer double hydroxide. This is most recent materials in the two-dimensional material. This can we are using for splitting the water. This layer double hydroxide, we are using this material for splitting the water into hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, structure I can explain you in the next slide. Next slide. Okay, this is what the layer structure. Because of the time I am skipping, otherwise I can explain point by point. This is the layered structure of this particular hydroxides. Okay, in this layer, because if you are making the layer and introduce some doping or some defects, in that way also you can improve the properties of this particular layer double hydroxide. Next. These are again the properties of the layer double hydroxides. Some of the properties may be changing among all those things, but all the two-dimensional material which I have explained here is useful for some specific application, but their own advantage as well as disadvantage based on the application which we are performing. Next slide. Madam. Yes, that is also possible. Okay, we will discuss that. Next slide. These are the maxines. Okay, maxines again, you can see M is actually the transition. This is the formula M max. There is a max phase and one more phase. Here you can see the metal phase is actually fabricated by titanium, vanadium and niobium like that. And again, A is actually the A group element that may be aluminum, silicon or tin. And then X is actually carbon or nitrogen. Okay, we can prepare with a titanium or with vanadium or niobium. You can prepare the vaccines. Okay, again based on your own applications. Next one, that these are actually that other side that have their properties. These are the properties that particular vaccines are having. Next one. Okay, these are again all these material can be useful for so many applications in batteries, supercapacitors, again in the fuel cells, and again the splitting the water into hydrogen. And this is the energy application. Again in the sensor, their gas sensor, biosensors. In the gas sensors also these materials are very much useful. And again in the biosensors also these materials are available, very much useful. And we are using this material for one more important application, that is actually the CO2 reduction. Okay, the major issue in the environment is actually based on the liquid fuel, especially the petrol and diesel. Lot of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide emission is there. Because of there, we are facing lot of difficulty. That is actually the global warming. main issue is a global warming. You all know that this year, the last month, in Coimbatore itself, the problem with the heat waves. Nowadays, also in India, entire country, the heat wave is enormous. That is because of this carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. In 2020, after the corona, you just remember that the next year there was a lot of rainfall. That is because of the less pollution in the environment. Okay, now we have to make a less pollution, and in order to make a less pollution, you have to reduce the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide emission. Here, using this kind of catalyst, you can reduce the carbon and to make the useful fuel also. From that reduction of carbon, you can make a methanol. Methanol, this methanol can be useful for use can be used as a fuel in the later stage. Okay, these kind of things also possible based on the material. This kind of material when you are using it as a catalyst. Okay, that's the slides and all there in the final part of my lecture. Maybe with this I can stop it. If you have any queries, you please. Maybe you can skip the slide. So maybe these are actually the applications. Again, how this graphene can be used as a electrode in splitting the water or these kind of things are explained. Next one. Next. These are the applications of those material. Okay, how it can improve the performance. That's why I have prepared these slides. Because of the time, I can skip. Next one. Okay, transition metal dialcogenates. Next one. This next, skip this one. Again, layer double hydroxide, maxine. Again, this is what the CO2 emission, which I have explained. Okay. These entire slides are there, but if you have any questions, I can explain. This kind of things also very much useful in terms of agricultural aspect too. Reduction of CO2. Graphene, because oxide have their own advantage. Preparing oxide, you know that the preparing oxides is very easy and application also easy. But in order to maintain the reduce means you are dislocating some of the oxides. In that way, you are reduced the oxygen to make a graphene again. Okay, that sometimes these reduced graphene oxide have a some metastable phase. Okay, that phase may be useful for some of the application. In that way, this may be useful. Otherwise, the graphene oxide is a better material for any kind of. When you are keeping the oxygen in that particular one, the stability is the problem, sir. Okay, the oxygen always react with that one. In that way, the stability, you cannot maintain the stability. Is a conclusion for CO2. Next one, thank you, sir. This way, in order to make the greener one, you have to do all the process. Whatever the thing I explained is actually to make the clean environment. Green energy, and again, the agricultural aspect also, you should go for a green thing. Because nowadays the people are telling that there are so many organic things, but whether we don't know exactly it is organic or not. In that way, they are yearning a lot, but exactly it is happening or not, we don't have any idea. Okay, next slide is a thank you slide. That's all. Go to the next slide. It's a thank you. Thank you all. If you have any clarification, I can ready to answer if any. But sir, the chalcogenates a little problem, sir. Carbon-based material, we don't have any issue. This graphene or graphene oxide, anything. Larger time also, yes, except this chalcogenates, all the materials are good, sir. Because the chalcogenates with the sulfur, that is also have problem as well as the selenites. Tellurites, selenites, and these all have some problems. Again, even the perovskite oxides also, some of the perovskite oxide they are using lead. Okay, because the lead based only having the maximum efficiency in solar cell. Nowadays, because in the silicon based solar cell, the efficiency is only 20%. Okay, but the perovskites that have more than 40% in the laboratory scale, they are using the lead. Lead is a problem. Again, if you are replacing the lead, again the efficiency comes down. That is the problem. Okay. That is some material their own disadvantage exists, but most of the material which I have discussed is having the better stability and environment.
First of all, I should honor Dr. Ponfandi. Advanced nanomaterials. He has explained about the advanced nanomaterial. It's a student point of view. It's more important than us. And among the nanomaterials, I was impressed by the Maxine. Yes, it's a need of the hour. It's most needed. And many of my students, I used to tell them about the green energy and fuel system. Because one question I asked to you, instead of the drinking water, now that nowadays the water scarcity is there, what's the need to go for a fuel system? Yes, one is water scarcity is there. So is there any
Because
object to go for?
we are not wasting the water.
No, my question is water scarcity, thinking water scarcity is there, but lot of wastewater is available. Is there any nanomaterials to go get for purification? What do you meant for bioremediation?
It is possible.
Bioremediation.
Touching upon that one.
Yeah, that's what.
Material that can be used as an environmental remediation purpose. So, okay, in the environmental remediation aspect, there are two things. One is actually absorbent, and again one is completely removed. Okay, there the problem is actually, for example, in Tirupur, we know that there is a lot of problem with Tirupur dye industries. There, the wastewater, how they can dispose the wastewater, that itself, again, there is a problem. There is a zero disposal. That means you have to remove all the dye from the water and only to discharge the zero discharge water. Okay, only the clean water has to be put it into the river or anything. All the other things has to be removed. That is what environment. For that, the nanoparticle play a vital role. In Surat, that is, you know that Surat, there are so many dye industries, and again, this kind of textile industries, they are using the nanotechnology for zero discharge water. But in Tirupur, this particular technology is not yet completely established. Okay, based on the nanoparticle, this is possible.